And we'll go. Maybe I'll start with a few questions. I know, Penny, you had a question, but I'll start with my own, if it's okay with you. Oops, someone is joining. So I chose this name, Speaking Justice, because for me it meant something powerful. I had this kind of struggle of or these essential questions around how do I use my voice, what do I need to do to be able to use my voice and also teach and model that around me in a way that is aligned with my values. How do I do that? How do I make sure that I do that? And how do I make sure also that I have enough awareness to know when it is necessary for me to use my voice? I think all of you have heard me or maybe watched the video I have on my website where I talk about World War II and this kind of like binary vision I had when I was growing up of you're either using your voice and you're on the side of the French resistance, or you're not, and basically you're either actively or passively collaborating. Okay, I know it's a little bit more complicated than that, but that kind of like dichotomy stayed with me, and knowing where like what makes people able to use their voice, what makes them aware that there is a need for them to use their voice is something that stayed in my mind and was kind of my obsession for many years. And that's been also my focus at school when I've worked for 5 years. It's like, how do I make sure that my children, my students grow up to be human beings able to identify situations of injustice and use their voice accordingly. So that's kind of like my way to define speaking justice. For me, when I speak justice is when I use my voice in a way that is aligned with my values. But that means that it's different for each of us. And so my first question for you is like, what does speaking justice look like in your everyday life? Because there's no one way. It's our own way to do it, and we have different things around us that kind of trigger this need to use, or this need to use our voice. And there's like small ways and big ways. That's why I've created the 5 habits of speaking justice, because for me, we need to practice using our voice in as many situations as we can, even in the small everyday life interactions. I think it's really important to keep on practicing using our voice. So yes, that's my first question. What does speaking justice look like in your life?
I noticed it gets more complex depending on how isolated you are. If you're with a group of people that share your same values, that can back you up, it's easier, obviously, to say something than when you're by yourself, and depending on how confrontational and perhaps, even threatening the situation is. So, I have no problem speaking my mind, but it's like I'm looking for tools on what to do in the how to have the difficult conversations where it's uncomfortable because you may be the only person there saying as much.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole. It's true. Like, I think we all, so there are 5 habits in my framework. The first one is growing and controlling our voice. And, sometimes I do a little assessment. People just self-assess their kind of level of comfort with each habit. And some people have a hard time with the growing part of growing, controlling your voice. Some people have a hard time with controlling. And so it's sometimes we think that, oh, someone who can speak her mind, like Nicole, is fine, is totally okay. Yes, but there are ways we can do that in an effective way, right? In an impactful way, and in a way, again, that is aligned with our values. because I've used my voice, and I'm wondering if you guys are the same, but I've used my voice in a way that wasn't good, wasn't helpful, wasn't going to help the situation, right? Where I lost it. And I do that, um, rarely. Like I'm actually pretty good at that, but rarely I've used my voice in a way with my daughter that doesn't feel good to me, right? It's not even applied to race. That's again my philosophy with the 5 habits of speaking justice, is like, how can I speak justice for big causes if I can't use my voice in a way that is aligned with my values in my everyday life? So you see, for me, it's all the same. So yeah, so it's like the question is not only like using our voice, but like, how do we do that, for sure. And that's there is a struggle there. And I love, Nicole, that you talked about isolation, because that plays such a huge role in our ability to have an impact, and in our ability to even feel confident in what we're saying, right? Is that how it's impacting you, Nicole, or is there a
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's, part of one of the dangers, and if anybody's seen The Social Dilemma, it's, social media has allowed a lot of armchair warriors to say things really inappropriately and use their voice in the written word really inappropriately because they feel like they're protected behind the computer screen. It's a lot more difficult to be in a public situation. And, I don't like confrontation, but it's a lot more difficult to be in a public situation where you may be the only one there speaking
yes,
out,
yes,
whether it's on your own behalf or on behalf of somebody else to protect them. When we're going to start entering that again, as things open up, we're going to be back into meetings in person and public scenarios. And I think a lot of people will be relearning those skills.
yeah, no, for sure, for sure, if we've ever learned them in the first
If
place.
they did to begin with, yeah.
Yes, but yes, it's true. It's very. I mean, this thing, I personally, and it's a choice, and I'm not judging anyone for doing it, but I personally do not engage in written dialogues, because so like social media, that's a choice. You'll see my social media presence is very small. I just have a Facebook page where I just share information about our events. That's all. um, because I I believe that my whole approach is like conversation, and I believe that it's by hearing your voice and making space for your voice that I'm going to be able to connect and like and understand what's up is with you, why you're thinking differently than me, right? And maybe have an impact on you. And it might also be, and I'm saying that as a teacher, like, I know that we all have different skills, and some people are really good at writing, right? And some people are really good at being on the screen, behind the screen, and writing things and engaging in these debates. There are amazing examples of people who've changed their mind through conversation, written conversations. So what I'm sharing here is just for myself. I know that I have impact when I am with someone, if possible, face to face, but I can also do it just with the voice, and I connect with that person. That's my way to shine, um, and that's why I try to avoid, because I know this is just not my way to contribute. That's kind of actually the 5th habit, is knowing how best we can use our voice for justice. I know that my way to use my voice is to have conversations with people, and it's like direct ones. But some people are really good at doing that on the computer, and it's amazing. I saw that Shani shared, so because she's not able to use her mic, I'm just going to read what she shared with us. So for me, I think I mostly speak justice in small ways through interactions with my students and friends. I agree with Nicole. It's hard to speak openly in groups that are new to me, or who might feel frightened by challenging conversations, such as at work in the current climate. I definitely feel a lack of confidence in controlling my voice. I need practice with that. Yeah. And it's, yeah, Penny's giving thumbs up. But yeah, it's exactly, I mean, it's exactly my idea with speaking justice. Is like, okay, we haven't learned to engage in these uncomfortable conversations that I call compelling conversations. um, and the reality is that we need, like everything else that we need to learn, we need skills and we need practice. Skills and practice. So what are the skills? Let's find a method that summarizes the skills, and let's get a group of people who are willing to do the same thing in the same room, right now, virtual room, and practice together. And 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 I often say, like I said earlier, practice with small everyday interactions at first. I mean, if you feel great after a first workshop with me and you want to go and have a debate, it's great, you know. Like on the race, it's awesome, but I suggest starting small and having a clear goal of where you want to go. That's another thing we'll talk about later. Thank you, Charlene. Anyone else? Terry Cole, I just wanted to say hi because I did not say hi to you. Welcome.
Apologies, I joined a few minutes late, and I'm just trying to come up to speed on what you're asking of people and what the focus is.
Sure, I'm gonna repeat that for you. So my first question for all of us was, what does speaking justice look like in your everyday life? And I gave kind of my definition of speaking justice is to use my voice in a way that is aligned with my values. So that's speaking justice. And to speak justice, I need to be aware that there is a need for me to do that. Right? So again, going back to my example of World War II, I often ask myself if I would have been even aware that there was a problem, that I needed to do something. Right? So it's not just like using my voice in a difficult context, but it's also, am I even aware that there is a problem? So many people think there's no problem when we look at racial injustice, right? Or climate change or anything, name it. So there's a lot of denial in the first place that there is even a problem. So would I have been able to do that step, and then would I have been able to use my voice in a way that is aligned with my own values? In everyday life examples, it can be applied to big issues like race, but it can also be, Shawnee was talking about the small ways, but that are very important too, like talking with her students, right? Talking with my child, things like that.
I was going to say, for me, as someone who spent most of my life not knowing that there were problems, not being awoken to them or noticing, because I wasn't really surrounded by people who spoke against them. And then now, as an adult looking back, I'm starting to like bring back memories of things that were said around me that I just didn't even process or think about. And so I'm thinking of all those times as a kid, or, you know, as a middle schooler, um, racial things specifically. And I think, oh my gosh, no one said anything. No one. Um, and that just blows my mind. And so like, I try to apply that to my life today. And for me, what I try to do most is to educate myself before I say anything or do anything, unless of course I were to see something like live action happening. I would hope that I would be brave enough to, and that's, oh, gosh, I'm rambling. It's weird to think that you would have to have the mindset of, I hope I'm brave enough to say something, but that's kind of where I'm at in my journey, is, you know, educating myself so that I know how to say the right thing. And going back to what Nicole was saying, is the people that you are around, it's easier to say something when you know that people around you have the same mindset. So for me, I have started surrounding myself with people that are like-minded and have the same morals and the same beliefs, because it is helping me to have a stronger voice, so that at some point when I am by myself and I see something that needs to be spoken out against, I can say it verbally. And I am one of those people that is so much better at typing my voice than saying it out loud. And so that, I know that's one of my strengths, but I also have to know how to create those boundaries of when not to engage with people like on social media, family members. And that's something that I've really struggled with over this last year, is trying to use my voice on social media when I see something that I'm just appalled by, and getting attacked by even family members. And so I'm just trying to find those tools that you're here to share with us, because it's really hard.
Yeah, thank you. And the courage thing, I think we all, I mean, it's human, right? And I'm, it's been on my mind, like, since I'm a teenager, like, would I have had the courage to say something? But I think obviously, like, courage is in itself is big, but there's also a component of self-confidence there. Um, so yes, courage is like facing our fear and being able to overcome the fear, but it also comes with practice of doing that. And so again, like, everything comes back to practice, and practicing in small, like, safe spaces, and with small goals at first, to kind of build confidence. And by building confidence, we have the ability to overcome our fears and face them, and go for it, right? So yes, I think the fear is always there. When I talk with someone I disagree with, I always have a horrible fear and, like, my stomach. But because I've been practicing, I'm able to, like, just force through it. Um, and again, and I think another thing, again, important, that's going to be one of my questions, is like, the goal. What is my goal? So when I'm clear with my vision and what I want to achieve, I'm able to just go for it, and overcome my fear. Thank you so much, Tara. Anyone else? Joanne?
Mine's a little different. Because my husband and I are both in our 80s, we're very aware of the situation with the variants, and they now are talking about 7 or 8 variants in the state of Washington. So we're choosing to keep our bubble very small until there's more information about the vaccine's effect on it. So while I really enjoy face-to-face, and that's the best place for me to practice so that I don't get too passionate and undo what I'm trying to do here by helping to open people's thoughts on the subject. Right now, most of my ways to practice it is certainly through writing, responding to emails that I get about programs and philosophies that I'd like to share some other insight about. And also in reading, getting better informed on what it is I want to talk about, and supporting others. And one way I do that are some small groups that I'm facilitating based on the book Me and White Supremacy, which gives a lot of opportunity, because many people come to that, as I did, thinking, well, I know there's more I can learn, but I'm not a racist, and understanding about that. It's a great book for that, and there's a lot of opportunities for practice, let me tell you. And also supporting, when I can, people with donations, but that's getting a bit out of hand because of the emails you get when you make donations. So that's basically, and also letters to the editor. And I do try to participate. I'm part of the Olympia Unitarian Universalist congregation, and we're starting a program on, or not a program, but a focus on both the eighth principle and also racism. So I'm hoping to participate and be able to be with real people, at least on Zoom. I do a lot of, there's a lot of Zooming in my life.
Yes.
So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Joanne.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I recommend that book to anybody. I first read it and participated in a conversation. There was 23 people, and basically we had one question and everyone responded to it. But when you do it as a 7-week, 1 hour and 15-minute group, you have a lot of opportunity to practice.
Yes,
Not
it's
face to
so
face,
wonderful.
to
Yes, it's so
practice.
wonderful.
And I
That's
started
great.
with my young adult grandchildren, and that was a great
Oh yeah,
experience.
you
They
told
were
me
my
that.
guinea pigs. Yeah.
Yes, you told me that. But it's a great way to build community, and you can build community within your own family or with
Yeah, and fortunately, I only have one family member, one of my brothers, that needs the information. Everybody else is one step ahead. They're really
Yeah.
tuned in. So I feel
think
fortunate about
I think we all need it, but yes, it's true that some people might need it more urgently than others. But yeah, thank you so much, Joanne.
that. I'm not saying they know everything, but they're on the right path.
Yeah.
The others.
Definitely. Anyone else?
So I look forward to one-on-one because that'll be the real test.
Brittany.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in working with children, you get a lot of practice on treating people respectfully and teaching others how to do that. So it might not necessarily be directly with race, but just, I get a lot of practice weekly with working with kids and showing them how to treat each other with respect, which I think is an important foundation. And then also with my family, like my grandparents who I don't see in person, but phone calls. Just like last week, I called my grandpa and he had just been to the doctor. And, the first thing he said to me is, "Oh, my doctor was a foreigner." And, for usually I would just get very triggered by that statement and would probably pounce quickly on him. And just after going through, the habits, I paused and I, calmed myself down and asked him a question about his appointment, like asking him to share more about it. And I think he was actually trying to get across that he had this really positive experience. And this, like he said, this woman was smart as a whip, like one of the smartest doctors I've ever had. And he said, I did have trouble hearing her accent, but you know what? It made me listen more. And I think I took in more information than I usually do. And so I was just glad that I had practiced a little with you, Miriam, through Speaking Justice, because I didn't pounce. I paused and I asked questions, and instead of just jumping to that assumption. And yeah, I've just seen my grandpa, through our conversations and over these years, change his views, and it's been really sweet. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Brittany, for sharing. I need to send you a Speaking Justice certification of accomplishment or something. And just little yeah, you took both workshops, is that right? You took the integrating too. Yeah. I mean, practice for sure, and the pausing. Pausing is like, if there's one thing I can tell, like for free, pause, just slow down. That's for sure a great like tip to have, and keep that in mind. And just it just cuts the reaction, like it cuts the ability for the brain to send these chemicals all across our body to tell us that we are in danger and we need to say something really terrible, or totally shut down to survive, right? So that's a great way to practice. And it's so sweet that you were able to connect with your grandpa. That's really cool, Brittany. Thank you. Anyone else? I'll also have other questions if we. Oh, Benny, yes, go ahead.
Okay. So I live in Seattle, as I said, and I have been in the pandemic walking up and down my streets a lot. And There are a number of, there are fewer than there were last summer, but there are a number of Black Lives Matter or In This House We Believe signs in the yards. And since I've been doing this work with this group, I'm, around defunding / participatory budgeting, reinvesting in community. I have just started, and it's scary work, but I've been just knocking on doors of people that I don't know and who have these signs. And I am just connecting with them. So it's a baby step in the sense that I'm like figuring there's some sort of common ground. I'm identifying myself as a neighbor who has a sign in their yard also. And gee, I live, a few blocks away or whatever. And just to enter into a conversation about what prompted them to put the sign in their yard. And those are my two things, is basically what made you put the sign in, and then have you taken it further? Have you taken any actions? And one of my objectives is to practice pushing myself a little bit, growing my voice, practice having questions in response, and keeping the idea of I'm not there to close anybody down. What I want to do is maybe push them gently, like I'm doing with myself, to take maybe one more step. And one of those steps I'm offering is, would they like to be in my small email list, so that I can update them from time to time about what's happening in the city. But I have considered the possibility of creating a how to talk to neighbors, and not even a how to talk. How do we talk to neighbors practice group, where I'm learning as much as anyone else. So holding space for like, are other people doing this, and how are they doing it, and what kind of questions are they asking? And I would love it if more people were knocking on people's doors and asking about the signs. And so far, no one's removed their sign as a result of me talking to them, which so that's a good thing. And I only had one person that pushed back a little bit, and she didn't want to engage really. She was busy. She was doing a lot in the neighborhood, and I said, thank you for all the things you're doing in your neighborhood, and have a good day. So I'm not like really pushing hard in any way.
Sure.
But
Sure. I think it's so subtle. It's so good what you're doing. Thank you for doing that, Penny. It's so wonderful. Could be like a movement. Go knock on your neighbor's door and talk about the signs they have on their yard. It's so good. I really like that, and I love that you're practicing asking questions, and as a way to enter the conversation. And like it seems like your objective, how would you define your objective? Actually, I don't want to put any word in your mouth.
Well, to connect with people in the neighborhood who are possibly coming from, they have some interest in racial justice. And so to have it's a little bit of a mapping exercise, I suppose, who are some of the people, and this is not my close neighbors who I know and talk to all the time.
Sure.
These
That makes
are
sense.
people I often have not met,
Yeah.
So it's a weaving, but also I do want to grow because I live in a mixed neighborhood, but it is primarily white for sure.
Yeah.
And so I want to create maybe more people tied together around, like, we all have the same council representative, so if there's political moments where white people can stand up as a group and say, this is what we're working towards, or that I'm helping to coalesce maybe a white voice, so that the voice is bigger than my own alone.
Yeah, but like it seems anyway that the connection the first part is like definitely working. The rest takes time, right? It's like multiple connection, and that's the thing with like building cultures, or building community. It's like the repetition of the connection that makes the community strong, or the culture strong and healthy. So I think your step is an important step. So yeah, it's great. Thank you, Penny, for sharing. Anyone else would like to share? And I'm not putting any pressure. I just like, and I know that we don't all feel comfortable talking. So yeah, I forgot to mention, but if you just want to write it down, it's fine with me too. And I'm not expecting everyone to say something. But here we go, Harmony. Go ahead.
I'll go real fast. Speaking justice in my everyday life. So I'm also a mom. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. So on a daily basis, how can I model? How can I just a lot of modeling, and for me, when I find myself triggered by being frustrated with something going on or behaviors, and just trying to do what you were just talking about. And it's so important. It's one of my mantras. I think I use it a lot, is just to stop, slow down. And it's hard. I've noticed it gets harder at the end of the day, but that's kind of classic parenting. And I'm trying, so I've worked in daycare situation as well, over my career, and using the tenets of positive discipline, and trying really hard to incorporate those on the daily, as my mantra. It's I think a lot of unlearning has been an important part of my journey as a parent, because I want to do things differently than my parents did. I love them both very, very much. That's actually one of the relationships that's very difficult for me, especially over the last 4 years, is the relationship with my parents. So yeah. I'm very excited about the workshop coming up on the 15th. I'm already signed up, very excited for that. So I'll definitely take that piece that you mentioned today about slow down, pause, catch your breath. And I want to use that with the relationship with my parents, and then with my kids. It's been lovely, and things are great. And I think that on the whole, I think we have this tendency to just laser focus on those moments, or on those characters' flaws that we'd like to improve on. And just wanting to keep moving in that direction with my own children, and then the students of OUUF's RE program. And weaving in all of the important pieces of the 7 UU principles. Thank you for bringing up the 8th one, Joanne. There is some movement towards adopting the 8th one officially, and I'm very excited for that. Centering marginalized voices is the 8th principle. It's on the lesson planning to-do list for me and my co-teacher Julia Buggy. So we're working on that, how to weave it all in. And it's exciting. It's exciting work. I really appreciate this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harmony. Yeah, there's so many layers there. It's so rich, right? From our own children to our parents who think differently, to just our work as I see us all as modelers, in a way. So we don't even have to be officially educators to actually have the power to educate, right? So it's an important thing, but especially that layer additional layer when it's actually the job you do. Is really, it's a big responsibility. But I see us all, like, in my mind, a community can have as many leaders as it has individuals, right? Because we all have the power to model and to have an impact. So if the question is like, are we modeling intentionally or not? So are we working on this? Do we have an objective? Is that aligned with our values? Is our modeling what we would think our best self would do or not? So that's really like, that's really the question here. Anyone else? Thank you, Harmony. Just could talk a lot about what you said, but yeah, just wanna. Guys are good. Okay. I want to take a break and that and just Penny, you had a question. Do you want to, because we're recording, do you want to repeat your question, or should I just repeat it for you?
Well, I was just asking about, you had at one point talked about having a practice group or holding practice groups, and which is something I'm interested in. And so I'd love to hear an update on whether that's still a thing, and,
Yeah, definitely. So we offer workshops, and soon, Penny, I don't know if you heard about that, but we will have an online pre-recorded course, so that people, because one of the things that people tell me that they have a hard time, we only have workshops on Saturdays in the morning, and so not everyone can make that. So I was thinking, okay, and it had been my objective to have a course anyway. So how can I translate the knowledge into a course? So I'm preparing that, and it will be that will be launched in the end of May. It's not exactly, it's like workshop plus. There's like, we go a little bit deeper because the workshop is a great way to get some of the knowledge, just the minimum knowledge possible. But really what you want to do in a workshop is get the practice, is get the people around you to support you through your practice. So that's kind of different. When with the course you can go deeper into the material, and with the course there's also 2 months of community practice calls that you're talking about, that are offered. So this way, once you're done with the material, you can join a community practice call. A community practice call is a call where people come with their own scenarios. So Harmony, I'm going to use you right now, but if Harmony has a scenario with a discussion, topic of conversation that she usually struggles with her parents, she can come during this community practice call. And we've done that. Penny and I had actually a one-on-one once, and we workshop a conversation that she had, right? We talked about that. So you can come, and we do, if there's enough people, we do small breakout sessions where it's only people who've taken at least one workshop. So they have the method, and people use the method to support each other, workshop the conversation. So that's the idea. And then we come back together, and there's time for Q&A if people need more support from me with that exercise. So those are the community calls. And so I decided, Penny, to answer your question directly, to wait for the course to be built, because a lot of people are going to join through the course too. And once we have that, it's first going to be once a month, and then I'm hoping like twice a month, and then probably weekly, so people can have more opportunities to join. But you will hear about that. The course will come up end of May. My objective is May 31st. So after that, we'll probably start the community practice calls on a regular basis. Right now, I may have one. Actually, I have planned one for this quarter, but you will hear about it. It will be just, oh yeah, here is an email community. Come join us to a community practice call. Bring your scenarios. If no one has any scenario, I always have tons of scenarios. I've heard so many scenarios that I can always work with people through them. So that's something we can definitely do. And I can share with you like some links, but yeah, that's what we're doing right now. Okay, quickly, because I want to also respect the time. It's 12:52. I wanted to ask you, well, there's different things. We could go with like, what is one issue that is, so we're going to go a little bit more in detail, that you feel that you need to use your voice, you need to speak justice about? Is there one issue in your life that is like really hard? It's always something that is interesting because it changes so much, and depending on the people. But also, what would be your goal in this conversation? And I think we talked about it with Penny a little bit, but what is your goal? I always, in my workshops, I always emphasize the need to have a clear goal when we enter a conversation. Usually we react, right? We either shut down, avoid, or we go for it, and in an uncontrolled, unintentional way. So the whole purpose of the method is to have intentionality. To have intentionality, we need to have a goal. And it doesn't have to be a precise goal. It can just be a general goal. Someone in my workshop told me that after a workshop, actually, she went in her life and she had the goal, set as a goal, to be able to say, I disagree with you, to a coworker. Because so many times she would have like these opportunities where people would come and say something at work that she would disagree with, and she would be totally unable to do that. And that was her one goal. And the opportunity once came, and she used the 5 habits, and she just was able to say, I disagree with you, right? That's one goal. And then she was actually even able to apply the other habits, the other steps, because she did something amazing. Can talk about another time, but she used humor as a way to, and intentionally first. And so she discovered her 5th habit, like knowing how we can use our voice. So she realized that she has this amazing ability to make fun of herself when she says something, kind of like when she's in a difficult situation. And that's kind of making the situation a little bit more comfortable for everyone. And then they were able to, with the 5 habits, go through the conversation, understand what was the misunderstanding or what was the challenge there. So anyway, so what is one issue and what is your goal? What would be your goal with this one issue that you see? If you enter the conversation with one issue. And feel free to write that down. I'm happy to just read your answers. Terry, you unmuted yourself.
I unmuted myself. So for the last couple of years, there's been this pretty clear line between those who feel that we need this healing clinic, the MAC clinic, and I'm more than for it. I want to advocate for it. And there are many in my neighborhood and people that I've come across who are of that, not in my neighborhood kind of thing. We don't need it here. And trying to convince people that there are neighbors of yours, there are family members of yours that they do need this. And
and you are either blinded by it, I never say that, but I want to say it. And being able to forgive someone who doesn't see things my way is really hard. And I don't want to use anger. I want to be calm about it. But when I start hearing things that to me seem like, I don't think you know what you're talking about. And I also don't want to come across like, I know what I'm saying. It's just my feeling. So I want to just put it through, this is how I feel. And I know people who have been addicted to painkillers through no fault of their own. And so many in our families have, and they are all around us. And so, yes, we do need this clinic.
Yes.
And so that's a hard conversation. And my goal would be to give someone the information they need to be open.
Yes. Yes.
So, yeah.
That's beautiful, Terry. Thank you so much. Really, really beautiful. It touches my heart to hear those words, and forgiveness and just openness. So that's, when people come to my workshop, I think I try to, the method we use and the practice, the opportunity there, what I'm kind of guaranteeing, like the result I can tell you that can happen through this, with this method, with this practice, is openness. It's exactly that. And connection, those two things. So do we have for sure the power to change someone's mind? Or can we, because again, the goal is really important, or can we plant a seed? Can that be our objective, is to plant a seed and connect? Because the connection is so powerful. But like, plant a seed, that's what I'm offering. That's what I'm kind of like working on. And that's what I can tell you without any hesitation will happen if you use this method and if you practice. It's like this ability to plant a seed and this ability to connect. And just the connection in itself is so important, because I mean, we've seen what is happening to this community, to this nation, right? To our families. And so the lack of connection, the lack of forgiveness, lack of empathy is really a danger in itself for me. So that's very important. Very, very important. Yes. Thank you so much. Anyone else? I see the time, so, and it's 1, but I want to make space if anyone else wants to share something. Otherwise, this will not be our last conversation on speaking justice.
You really brought up that very, very, thank you, Terry and Miriam, for bringing it up so eloquently. It's very difficult to navigate those relationships with people that you care about immensely. My mom and dad, right? And anytime my dad starts talking about politics, I just get this like and yeah, just all of the things that I've been doing, I think have been helping. I am not proud of the way that things went after the Capitol attack. That was a day that the interaction between my parents and me after that was not positive. So it's hard. But I call him up, and because I was so shaken, and just wanted to check on them, um, and they started defending what was happening, and yeah, it was hard. It's very hard. It was very hard. I'm not proud of some of the things I said. I'll be perfectly honest.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
But the beauty, Harmony, is that especially with family members, there's space for repetition, and so for more opportunities, and for,
Yes.
and so
And we've healed since then. We have, since that moment. It was actually, it was, things were said on both sides.
Sure.
But we were able to come back and share resources with each other. Well, sharing of, I'll still call them resources, because those are the thing that I think what really is at the key of the heart of this was so difficult, is that there's a different narrative going on.
Sure, sure, sure.
So
sure.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's so difficult to have these compelling conversations when when you're trying to have those, when you're trying to reach consensus, the resources that one side is using versus the other are so yeah, it just it's very hard. So yes, but we have healed, my parents and I, and things are good. Yeah, and I think I'm looking back on this year, there have been moments when I've been really proud of myself for how I handled a situation. And it's good. It's very good.
It's just a learning, like all these opportunities, even when it's not, we were not our best self, right? It's just like we learn from that, and we keep going. And I cannot wait to have you in the workshop, because we will talk about these resources and facts, and like what does that mean, that we don't have the same facts, and we don't live in the same universe, we don't see the world through the same glasses, because that's what shapes the method we're going to use. Is that I send you my resources, you send me yours, like and what comes next, right? Like, I'm not going to think that your resources are valid. You're probably not going to think that too. So it's good. I'm not saying it's not good, but I'm just saying, like, I hear when you're like, that was great. I think it's a great way to show that there's space for understanding.
Yes.
It's a very important part, especially after a moment of deep conflict. It's a great way to start healing. But we're looking for a little bit more. And I want to add something else to finish, is that usually these things, like these issues, politics, these slogans, like, it just, there's things behind them. The reason why we believe the way, the things we do, there are stuff that brought us there. There's a narrative that brought us there, and we need to understand that for ourselves, and we need to understand that for the person we're talking to, and that we do that through connection, because that's the only way for us to understand something that is totally irrational. I do not understand how you can think that. This is totally crazy, right? So it's not by asking the other person to show me their evidence that I'm going to make sense of something that is totally irrational, right? And we also have to have some humility and understand that on our part too, our beliefs are beliefs, right? And I think for a long time, the progressive side saw itself as holding the unconditional truth, right? And looking down on other people and not even wanting to listen to other people. And that's how you build gaps. And that's how you build a deep divide. So just relearning, we were talking about undoing things and unlearning things. It's just relearning how to engage there. Thank you so much, everyone. This is so beautiful, and I'm looking forward to seeing you either at our next workshop, Harmony, May 15th. Penny, there's a workshop on July 17th with it's the next level with the handbook.
Is this the like learning how to weave thing, integrating?
So we go deeper into the each habit, and I wrote this, Joanne has it actually, this handbook, Speaking Justice handbook, that uses the method, but because it's written, it allows us to really prepare step by step for any kind of conversation, of compelling conversation. That's my new thing. That's what I use each time I'm gonna have a difficult conversation. So yes.
And you'll be sending more email about those.
I'm gonna send, let me first maybe stop the recording. People don't need